Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to be here with John Morreale, the president of Morreale Real Estate Services. John, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Excited. Looking forward to this all day.
Me too, man. Me too. This is so cool because normally, I catch you at a conference twice a year and, kind of run into you, and you've always been this figure, and this guy, and you're always at the party, and like I'm always like at some point like thanking you for the drinks or whatever that you sponsor, and I'm always, but I think this is probably the most we've ever had a chance to really talk and like dig in. So I'm really getting excited to get to know you like kind of on a more personal level. So thank you for being here.
Not have to be in a suit and a tie either.
I'm glad I didn't wear one. I was like this close. So
yeah. I was wondering what you were going to do for me. I did put on a button-down shirt for you today, and there's no logo or something, some sports memorabilia or something.
I appreciate you wearing the shirt today. I was worried, honestly. It was either this or a tux. I was like, I don't know which way to go. But no, this is great. Hey, so John, and hey, everybody out there watching, by the way, we should thank everybody that's here watching. We got a ton of people on LinkedIn, a ton of people and growing right now. It's awesome. And a ton of people on Facebook. So this is fantastic. People are trickling in right now. I think they got the company-wide memo. They better hop on. So this is fantastic. Hey, if you're out there right now, hit that like button right now. I want to know who you are, where you are, what you're doing right now. So go ahead and check in. John, where in the world are you right now?
I'm actually in my office in Glen Ellen, which is a suburb of Chicago. I actually even grew up in this town, so I'm like at home. And it's where one of our offices are. We have offices in San Antonio and in Glen Ellen, and there's we have a partial staff in, so it's kind of nice. The world's waking up now. When I talk to somebody, there's actually someone listening. I'm not just talking to myself.
So you're not just cussing at the wall. People are like, John, I can hear you over there muttering to yourself over there. But so does it feel like things are waking up right now, John?
Totally does. It really, really does. I actually used those exact words a couple of days ago. I mean, I'm seeing that the customers are calling and they're feeling more confident about the future. So some of the projects they weren't sure about investing in or working on, they're bringing to the forefront. Now they're in a big hurry.
Isn't that funny? They were asleep for 14 months and now they're like, move. And they're like,
exactly.
Okay, easy. Let me hire some people that I've furloughed and let me take some properties out and everything. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
this is great.
Not a lot of travel yet. I'm not finding going out to the customer sites or anything quite yet, but certainly business is picking up, and so that's always a good thing. And the phone is starting to ring, and then frankly, to be honest, it really helps to have the employees kind of trickling back in. As they're getting vaccinated. For those who are tired of their children and all of their own home distractions. They're like, I gotta get out, and they're starting to come into the office. We certainly still have a lot of safety protocols in place, but I think it helps my morale. I know that's for sure, and I think it just helps the morale of the company. In San Antonio, we haven't opened up quite yet, but I think in due course we will. And I look forward to getting back down to that office, and it's just really starting to feel good again.
That's awesome.
And personally, I have a couple daughters graduating college, and now they're actually having events where people are going to get together after all the months of thinking we were going to have a Zoom graduation. I mean, I think there's just a lot of little signs like that out there that slowly but surely, and I don't believe anything's going back to the past, but whatever the new is starting to show itself.
All right, here goes. I'm going to ask you the question. There's a certain subset of questions I ask for people that have been around for a while, and that is, you mentioned we're not going back to the past, to the way it was, but what does 2022, because 2021 is kind of funky because all the pent-up demand and everything. What does 2022 volumes look like compared to 2019? If 2019 is 100, if baseline's 100, what does 2022 look like?
I'm pretty optimistic, and I feel like I'm sitting
Okay.
at a wood desk. I feel like I need to knock, but I'm pretty optimistic they may be similar uh,
Oh,
than in the past in 2019. I think the type of business may be different. In my particular space, I like the home acquisition part of a relo.
yeah.
Maybe there'll be less of that and there'll be more renters or things like that. The thing that concerns me the most, frankly, is the international assignments.
Mm.
We really going to have to deal with what are we going to do in the international space. But I think, frankly, what drives this industry more than anything else is the fight for talent. And so as we get to the unemployment numbers or maybe this restriction in immigration really creates a fight for talent. And that's what drives the industry. And I don't see that changing. I mean, I think there's just going to be a lot of people out there that are investing in the industry, whether it's through technology or intercultural learning and some of those things. I think it's still on the way up. So I think the people, there'll be a lot of reloads. I just don't know what type of reloads.
You bring up an excellent point, right? You bring up an excellent point because the war for talent is raging as much as it ever has been.
Yep.
The question becomes, to your point, does the business mix change? Do the benefits that are offered change? Do the benefits that are required change? Do the demographics of the talent, what they need, change? Do we start do we start moving jobs to people instead of people to jobs? I mean, what are your thoughts on some of those macro trends? Because that's some of the I know you're an optimist, and I'd like to be an optimist, but I mean, those are the flip side of that coin, right? Is that? I mean, do you think that is a trend that's real?
I do think that there is a trend that there's kind of a diversification of the workforce going out there. But certainly as a business owner, and I think everybody who operates a business knows this, you really need some face-to-face time. And if you want to be the next vice president of your company, you really need some personal interaction. And that doesn't just mean a business meeting. That does mean sometimes sitting out at the picnic table together, having lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and doing some charity events together, and just really get to
Yeah.
know each other. And I just see that, yes, there'll always be some jobs, and I've always had jobs that folks could work remotely. Those were always true. But were those jobs that someday you were going to be a manager or a vice president of client services or something like that? Probably not a good idea to be that remote employee in that circumstance. So I don't think it's, again, going to be the same as it was in the past. Certainly, we all have learned to work under this environment. It's kind of cool. We all embraced the technologies that really needed to be embraced 2 years
Right.
ago. And now we're all
Do you find yourself using technologies that you hadn't used even 14 months ago in March 12th of 2020? Are there technologies that you're using on May 12th of 2021 that you didn't use on March 12th of 2020?
Yes, but I had to build it.
Oh, okay.
So, no, personally, I've always been comfortable. This is one of the legacies of my father. My father loved toys. And so we had the first fax machine. It was called a Quip machine. I remember, having email, and we had to email each other because we didn't know anyone else to email, and things like that. So
you had to email each other because that was the old fax machine problem, though, too, right? It's like, you got a fax. I'm great. I can only fax people that have a fax.
Well,
right?
and had the same brand of fax. So it was a Quip fax, and they had to have the exact model of Quip at the other end. And so it was always quite challenging. And yeah, Adora Lite was our first email program. And so, no one even really knew what that meant. And so it was just, but the point of it is that we have a culture here of embracing technology and have for a long time. And so a lot of the technology we were already using, again, though, it was this adoption instead of using, like Zoom and some of these technologies for chatting with our San Antonio office. Now the clients are using it. And we even can work with transferring families. If we say, hey, you know what? You want to jump on a video call because I can help you work your way through some documents, or answer any questions. We're just seeing a bigger embrace of the technology as opposed to anything particularly new about it.
I want to ask our audience. We've got a bunch of people here on LinkedIn, a bunch of people on Facebook and YouTube right now. That's awesome. Shout out to everybody that's watching us wherever you are. I want to ask you right now, if you're watching us, I want you to go in the comments right now. And what's one piece of technology that you're using today that you weren't using 14 months ago? I really want to know. Put it in the comments. I always find this so interesting when people start getting in here. Also, go ahead and leave your questions for John as well. We've got people checking in here. We've got Tim Quirk, happy and sunny hello from hashtag WNY. John and Ben, what's up, Timmy? Good to see you. Super producer Stacy, hi, Ben and John. I'm looking forward to the show.
Thanks for the help, Stacy.
Stacy's the best, isn't she? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Teresa Poe, greetings from sunny Phoenix. Victoria McCullough checking in from the DF Dub. What's up, Victoria? Hope we can have for lunch soon. Stephen Meyer, Household Goods driving Alan McGordo. Golly, what is that? White Sands Missile Range out there. Evan Miller, hello. Glen Ellen, Illinois, my hometown.
Yep.
Here today at my childhood home right now. Evan, do you fit in that bed? I feel like Evan's a tall man.
He is.
I see him squeezing into that like childhood bed. I don't know. Dano McCoy, hey Ben and John, greetings from rainy Atlanta. Dano, awesome. Dan, I think Dano and I really connected in a big way actually at one of the parties that you sponsored in Atlanta.
Yep. Actually,
so thank you for that. John D'Ambrosio, you're 100% right on the in-office hybrid return, John. The Johns agree. Rochelle is on Teams. Yeah, John, Teams, no more phone calls at all. Seriously. Have you noticed that you talked about the phones ringing? Have you noticed that like people don't do calls anymore?
Yeah, I still have some older relatives, who still are on the phone. I think people still use it out of habit more than anything else. Certainly don't have business calls anymore on the phone. Most of the time it's family members that are calling. It allows you to look at the screen and screen them out.
Yeah, no, So let's see here. We got a bunch of people voting on Teams here. Let's see.
Well, you can tell that in our office, I made them start using Teams, right? You can see, I'm like, all right, everybody.
Are they like trolling? Are they trolling you right now for your Teams for insisting that everybody use Teams?
Yes, I think they're being subtle.
Teams, John. Remember Teams?
Yes. Well, some of us were using it before we necessarily deployed it across the offices. But
everybody's saying Teams. Everybody's saying Teams. This is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Right. And so I stopped using the phone and started calling them. And then, it helps a little bit when your name's in the door and you send an email and you say something like, I tried to call you, and they're like, well, I don't have a camera or my microphones or, all the double feedback we all got the first month. I'm like, you're going to have to figure it out from now on. This is how I call you. And,
this is great. Oh my gosh. Gail saying, yes, we are making a big deal about Teams.
A couple weeks spoke to some really great employees from the San Antonio office. And Cheryl from my office has been one of the ones who does all of our internal training here. And so she got to implement a lot of this technology across our different offices and done a great job. Always has.
That's great. Megan, using Monday.com a lot more now to help our team stay on track. Good.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, Monday.com. Interesting. Tell us more. Leave it in the comments. Throw a link in there too if you don't mind. Trish Wolf, phone calls becoming obsolete. I feel that. I used to have 3 conference calls a day, and I can't remember the last time I dialed into a call.
Yeah. It's usually, somebody, lawyers or somebody, that's at a different level, the type of conference call, but rarely doing work anymore. And the cool thing about this new vehicle is that, we can share documents and we can share process maps and we can edit things right on the fly instead of saying, hey, did you print out a copy of, the slides that I have? And right now the slides are more you can function within them, and you can change the graphics, and it has a much bigger purpose to it.
Did somebody print the presentation? Do you have copies? Does everyone have copies of the presentation? Do we have enough copies? Can somebody go copy the presentation? We need 3 more copies of the presentation. Oh my gosh, yes.
Exactly.
Conversations that never happen anymore.
Right. And I don't miss any of that because I was usually the guy that didn't have the copy.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'd have to have like access to the color printer because God forbid everybody had access to the color printer. All right, Nick, we got burning questions. We got a couple burning questions here from some friends. Where is the beard?
Well, I think that's part of the change, right? Is that I had to clean up. We're coming out of
clean up your act.
And I can't grow a very good beard, so it made me look a little scruffy. I admit my wife hated it, and so one night I was feeling a little frisky, and I threw her a bone and I shaved, and cleaned up.
This is a family program here, John. Okay, all right. Here, let's see. We got Google Docs. Olivia.
I kept a little bit. I wanted to recognize me, but.
Fine stash, absolutely. Let's see. Dana McCoy says House Party and Google Duo zooming a lot since March 12th. House Party, that's so interesting because House Party came and went. Were you on House Party, John?
I actually only took a look at it once. Never really, used it or enjoyed it. My family is, we use our phones a lot, frankly. For the holidays with grandma, and then obviously we all had family members we weren't able to see in the holidays, and we just really are using a lot of the Zoom functions pretty good on the phone. And when you have certain generations with you, you say House Party, and you lose them right out of it. Everybody, even my mom in her late 70s, has heard the word Zoom, and so she's willing to embrace that. If you said House Party, I think she would.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Bob Rosing also. Bob's a very serious man, a titan of industry. Bob says, "Hi, John. Did you change in the parking lot again?"
I think I embarrassed Bob one day when we were golfing, and it was a little chilly, and so I slipped in an undershirt with long sleeves because I'm not free in a jacket. I'm not good with the jacket. And so I slipped on one of those, Under Armour type shirts underneath the golf shirt. And I think maybe I broke Bob's etiquette. I don't know. But, you got to do it. It was chilly.
Bob, can you comment on that? Were you mildly offended? Gail, and are you wearing pajamas? I promise it's the last non-serious question we're going to ask here, Gail. So you get to, that's the other thing, right? I mean, I think we talk about the commute getting cut down. Right, because you don't have to drive to work. But we're also forgetting about the fact that we only have to prepare half of our body to go to work now.
Well, right? I'm older than you are, Ben, so I have to prepare my whole body. There's nothing good about it anymore. So I need to be fully covered. I mean, you see, I roll up my sleeves a little bit. That's about as uncovered as I'm willing to go.
Watch out! He's showing some skin here. All right, let's get serious though. Let's go back to some serious conversations here. Thanks for entertaining us here and allowing us to go down this path. This is great, and your folks have a real sense of humor. This is wonderful. I love funny people. Are the best types of people. Let me ask you though. So, here we are going through this pandemic that is very much in a way unlike anything that we've seen in our lifetimes. However, your company is celebrating its 50th anniversary in business. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about building a company to last like that. But before I do, I want to ask you, in those 50 years, you've seen some things that have been pretty cataclysmic in business and the world. What were some of those events, and how have you drawn upon those experiences coming into and coming out of the pandemic?
Yeah, no, I think frankly, those are the big teaching moments. I mean, when you're in the middle of it, you don't want to feel like that's the teaching moment because you're just watching people suffer. And you're watching it really affect people's families and things like that. And so there's a little sadness. I'm a little bit of a hugger, you just want to kind of hug everybody during it. But upon reflection, when you really look back, it's really, those are the teaching moments. And so, I've only been here for 30 of the 50 years. So I can't go way back to the interest rates of the 70s and the stories that
job hopper.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the, stories that I've certainly heard from people I've had the luxury of meeting over my career. But, 2001, was a big deal. It was a really big deal, and it scared everybody. But there was, and business came to a complete stop.
How long was that? How long was that stop? What was that? What was kind of the timeline on that? Like, give us an idea.
It was very similar to, I think, to what we're going through now. I mean, it was a complete year before people were really comfortable saying, so like, what's going to happen now? That's always the worst part of all of these challenges, is the uncertainty. Like, if you could have, we all had the meeting last year. Okay, for 30 days, we're going to close the office. Then after 30 days, we'll be good. Everything will be fine. Well, then, how about, why don't we tell everyone 4 weeks this time? Okay, so that didn't work. And it's that uncertainty that's really difficult. But in 2001, it really stopped a lot of the relocations, particularly at the senior management level. So there was kind of this still normal behavior, but there were a lot of C-suite type moves that stopped because
why is that?
I think it was this international question, right? Am I going to be comfortable living in Paris? Am I going to be comfortable moving to New York? Am I going to be comfortable to all of these industry centers? Everybody kind of had this vibe, like, is this going to keep going? How's it going to be? Then certainly we had, what is our response going to be? And things like that. And so it created this uncertainty at a very high level within the relocation space. And it took a while for us to kind of get back and say, okay, it looks like business is going to come back and be a little bit more normal. And certain businesses really suffered, like travel again, just really suffered, but if you maybe were in, IT space or maybe involved in the military contracts, suddenly business was getting a little bit better. And so it kind of has to sort itself out. And in that time, really what we all learned is that, we have to go on with our lives. Is that as terrible as that was, and wow, it's still affecting, it's 20 years later and it's still affecting the way a lot of us live our lives, in the security environment, whether we're going to the airport. And I mean, it still has a very long-term effect. But I think, you learn that, we still have to do work. We still have business that needs to be done. And then, but it really changed how the business was done. So that was when we all began to invest in data security and how these privacies and different way to do business and IT issues. And that was really kind of that first investment after 9/11. And then, for me personally, kind of the next big mark was, 08, 09. I mean, how scary is that? From a business point of view, when the real estate crisis hit and the country had a recession, we had a depression in the, relocation space because so many people were upside down in their houses. And it really
and you said depression because there was so much, because it's so real estate dependent, or why do you think that we were impacted so heavily?
Because it's hard, as when my employer says, I want you to move out to California, and we're going to give you a nice relo package, and here's all the benefits, and we're going to help reimburse you for the movers, and we're going to do all that. And then I came to realize, plus I had to write a check for $80,000 to get out of my house. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. How much money do I make a year?
Well, I'm getting like a 15 grand bump, and I'm paying 80 grand to get out of my house.
To get out of my house, right? And frankly, my mate might not be all that thrilled with moving in the first place. Right. So it really presented some challenges. And then on top of that,
let me ask you about that being upside down, because I think this is so interesting, and I think it could be a future state as well. Yes, but was that when loss on sale became a big benefit, or was that a benefit that was from before that?
Actually, the benefit was before that, because back in the day, so to speak, a lot of folks were being relocated on a fairly regular basis, like every 2 years. I think of my father-in-law worked for IBM. I mean, he was relocating on a fairly regular basis. So the value of his home wasn't growing as fast as how often he was moving. So, you take out commissions and all that. So IBM had a loss on sale, really so that he could keep moving. What happened, though, is my father-in-law's loss on sale was a couple $1,000s. What happened in this, what we're discussing, is now all of a sudden, there are some people who live in $2 million houses, and their loss on sale was $800,000. And so what ended up happening is the employers said, hey, wait a minute, we're going to put a cap on the loss on sale. So that loss on sale was always there. But now they started putting caps on the loss on sale.
Was it a dollar cap, or was it like a percentage? Was it a percentage cap or something else?
Yeah, I would see a number like 50,000. It would normally be a dollar amount. And so you had to go through this whole calculation. Well, okay, I know I'm upside down on my house, but am I $50,000 upside down? And so it really kind of changed how we do things a little bit there. And then there was a time in probably 2009, I would say over 40% of the relocations that I was involved in. And remember, I'm kind of dealing with that house being left behind. Transferees were leaving checks to get out of the house. I mean, 40% of them were having to write a check and send it to closing. And so that kind of kills the buzz.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I just sold my first house last year, and I mean, it was like one of the best days of my life. I mean, I can imagine that cuts the other way when you're leaving a big old check, and not only uprooting your entire family. I mean, relocating sucks already, right? You're moving, new friends, new schools, new whatever, stress of job, whatever, and then to pay for the pleasure. I mean, that's a tough sell.
Right.
Bob Portale. We got the Morreale and the Portale coming up tomorrow. Bob Portale's coming in and says, IBM stands for I've been moved.
Yes, it did. They still a leader in the industry.
Yeah. Are we seeing a lessening of those types of rotations, or different demographics around who's being rotated? What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's less numbers of it. I think certainly at that C-suite level, they're still getting very nice relocation packages. And again, this goes back to that recruitment of talent. There really is still a lot of activity at that level. I think, we've gone through this consolidation generally within the country of companies. A lot of the smaller businesses kind of joining in with the bigger parties. So the numbers are probably down. I think there's probably less C-suite jobs out there than maybe there was 5 or 6 years ago. But within that space, I think there's still a lot of business to be done. And frankly, they're also the ones who need our help. They really benefit from the services we're providing. Again, back to my father-in-law, he would love that I'm talking about him. But back then when he moved, my mother-in-law did a lot of the work for him. He went to work every day. And he went to travel, and my mother-in-law, Lois, who was a saint, she's the one who had to get the movers ready and the packing done and figure out where the kids are and all that. Well, today, that's just not true. I mean, there's so many dual working couples. They really need assistance.
That's really a great point.
Somebody, that's going to help them out.
Point. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I was hearing about, it's great. It's great you say that, because I was reading about these different relocating types, and you have the general with a small army, and I feel like that's kind of how my wife is, because she works in the home as well. And, but now you're right, with more dual working, couples, it really does fall back on us as an industry to anticipate all the needs and coordinate everything and almost get more personally involved. But yet the trend is to digitize everything and allow more self-service options. But I got to think that our transferees have less bandwidth than ever.
I agree. And I think the kind of the digitizing part of it, I think that's just how business is being done. It doesn't matter whether you're selling couches, pianos, whatever. I mean, it's all changing how we do business. But I think at the end of the day, if someone really thinks, again, you can't help but draw on your own experiences. So I have a couple kids bought their first house. Yes, it was really nice that they didn't have to go find the old MLS book, where the realtors guarded it, and you had to, know someone so you could look and see what houses. Yes, they spent all their time online. Yes, they knew what houses they liked. But at the end of the day, they still needed someone to show them around town and to keep them from making a big mistake, like, buying a house on a landfill or not knowing a highway's coming through the backyard the next day. So what I think is happening is that digitization of the services are great, but it's also brought a higher value to those few moments where you need that personal touch. Now, when I reach out to someone, I'm educated. I kind of don't need them to start at the beginning. I've done a lot of homework, but now that advice they're giving is super valuable because it's going to save me time. Instead of having to research all of the schools in the area on my own, they're going to say, go to this website. That's where you go, get all the information. That just took me 30 seconds to say it. I just saved them hours of their own time. So there might be less personal interaction, but that interaction has a lot more value today. So I think the value is the same. It's just done in a more condensed situation.
That's interesting. And I want to call back to the kind of loss on sale thing just for a moment here. Because here we are in an environment where housing prices are going through the roof. We've seen lumber increase in price 300% in the last year. We've seen steel increase 50%. So new home starts and construction is going to be super expensive. Therefore, homes that are existing on the market through the roof, no inventory. Yep. So I'm seeing, houses that are probably, 20% higher than they should be, maybe more.
Yep.
Bidding wars. And it looks like it's going to continue. It's been going on for the past almost a year now, and it's going to continue probably for another year before it all gets straightened out. But so you buy now, and then people are now running into the market. I was hearing Warren Buffett talk about this. Now people are running into the market to grab the price here before it gets to here. And so then all that again increased demand. And what does it do? It continues to shoot it up. So anyway, so it's cycling up. And so my question is, people that are buying now or buying in the next year, are we going to see a return to some of these mega loss on sales situations? Is this something we're going to have to really go back to? And we've been fortunate to not have to really deal with loss on sale as an industry for the past, I don't know, 10 years,
5 years or so.
5 years.
Yeah.
Are we going back to it?
The answer is I hope to be around long enough that the answer is yes, that someday this market's going to change and go back and where there's loss on sales.
So John hopes to be around when everybody's underwater on their house. That's what I'm hearing right now, John.
No, really my point is that it is cyclical and it is going to happen again, whether it's tomorrow, 5 years from now, or whatever. And I think the industry will have to deal with that moment again. Because again, the focus is that we need that talented person in a specific location or to travel to a specific place. That's not going to change. It's just the expense that we're willing to put out to get them to that location. And at the end of the day, yes, I believe housing values are inflated right now. I know that I may be one of the few people who think this, but I'm actually not convinced that the cost of something, the cost of building something is the value that it sells at. So the cost of building a home really doesn't affect the price, because if someone's willing to pay more, yes, but you can build $1 million house, but if someone's only willing to pay $100,000 for it, then the house is worth $100,000. We may be talking a little bit about that at the end. It's one
teaser.
Yeah. I did good there, then, right?
Yeah, you did really nice. You got radio background. This is good. This is real good. Lindsay
But
Shea Neal says it's definitely a seller's market. 100%.
that's good. And that's good for us because that takes some of the concern when a family is moving. That's one of the things they always worry about, right? Is, how long it's going to take me to sell this house? And they're selling now. You've got a house on inventory for a long time. There's either something very unique about the house, yeah, or its location is somewhere where no one can find it, or as my father would say, you're asking too much for it.
I don't even know if that's possible right now. Drew Phillips says inflated in California. No way. Yeah, Drew, what are you seeing out there? I'd love to know. If you're in the audience right now, I'd love to know. We've got Olivia and Dano and Julie and Bob, lots of Bobs out there. This is great. I'd love to know your thoughts as well. I want to ask you, John, we talked about we hinted at this before, but you guys are celebrating your 50th anniversary in business.
Yep.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I read a book 15 years ago. It's Jim Collins, Good to Great. And then Built to Last, I think, was his follow-up to that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Why some companies make the leap and others don't.
Yep.
Some companies stick around and others don't. What is it about Morreale that stood the test of time?
Well, I think, obviously the first thing is, my father was really good at what he did. He was a fantastic attorney, and he kind of came in as the industry was in its infancy in the early 70s. We have a file on the wall, his first relocation file from 1971. It's in a frame on our wall, and it's from Illinois Bell for all the old timers that remember.
Can somebody get that and bring that into John's office? I want a little show and tell right now. I'm dying to see this artifact, please. Can somebody? Okay.
It is in the building next door, so I'll glance out the window, and if I see them running across the parking lot.
Can somebody get on Teams and tell somebody to bring that file over here, please?
Right. No, but it really helps with a good personality, like all companies that really take on and really affect an industry and kind of create its own direction. The founder always has something, some real input into it. But really what I think was kind of the special sauce, and I think we still do this today, is we're trying to create a great place to work. And so, today there's more challenges with online and all that, but we have a culture that we try to make a place to work that we can kind of grow with someone in their career. So we have jobs for people who are coming in, when they're very young. There's a place for them here, the kind of clerical work type stuff back in the day before we got rid of all the clerical stuff. But, we found a place. But then maybe as they have family, we've always have allowed people to leave in the middle of the day to go see a school play or something like that. We have cribs hidden under the staircases here for people who want to bring their kids in.
For season. Yeah.
Right. And then as we're all getting a little bit older, now we're taking care of our parents. And, so we kind of create an atmosphere. What we've learned is that people who really work hard, they take the afternoon off to go meet some family obligation. They're always checking their email when they get back. They'll come in and put in some extra time. So if you really find hardworking people and you give them a place so that it's a job that they can have for their entire career, that you can kind of match as their life changes, your expectations and your hope for them change too, to kind of match that.
That's
and then
so
what happens? Yeah, and then what happens is the next generation comes in and they see that and they say, wait a minute, you've had employees that have been here for 30 years. And you're like, and they seem to really enjoy it. Well, that would be good for my family. If I could have a stable relationship, it allows me to be a good parent or a good child. And then we also have encouragement of people to participate outside of work and other activities. We have a lot of people who do continuing ed. They go back to college while they're working here. We encourage that. We have, I'm very proud to say that 25% of all the bonuses paid here in our company are on public service. If our company meets 700 hours of public service collectively, We all get 25% of our annual bonuses just for that.
Wow.
So we're really encouraging people to have kind of a life that matters outside of work. And then we embrace that here at work. So if they're going to go off to a fundraiser, golf outing or something in the middle of the day, they don't have to take a vacation day.
Why do you do that? Why do you do that, John? Why do you do that? Why is that so central that you're actually tying a monetary bonus to that?
Well, first off, I think that's the family I was raised in. There's just a lot of that type of work always done within my family. My father was a super generous man. So if you ever had a sad story, we all knew that just go in his office, tell your sad story. He'll give you the shirt off his back or keys to his car or borrow you some money. And so there's this idea of just kind of bringing people up. But I've always told people privately, there's also another interesting aspect to it, which I think really helps work. When you're doing these kind of charity functions, you also learn a lot about your coworkers. So you may have one person in the office who works out of their local church. They have some church functions. Well, we all then go to their church and we see the kind of things that are important in their neighborhood, where they're coming from. And we learn something about that and something about them. And it draws us all to learn into each other's world. We have a very diverse office here. There's a lot of diversity within the office. And so at the end of the day, Ben, you're crazy. Hold on a second.
Uh-oh. See? Look at that. Look
There
at
it
that.
is.
I love it. Bring it in tight. Bring it in tight if you can. I don't know if you can get how close you can get. I want to see some personal identifiable information here.
Yep, that's my
that is incredible.
Right?
And so look at the red X, like done,
yep.
File done, closed.
No, I can tell you about the X. The first line of the X meant the file had closed.
Uh-huh.
The second line meant we were paid.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, that's so great. That's so old school. I love it. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you. Who brought that? Give somebody a shout out. Who brought that over?
It was actually my son.
Hey.
Across the street.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Anyway, so I really would like to finish that comment about the
charity. Please do.
Because in addition to this idea that it draws us each into, there it is, Joan, my dad's law partner. She's the one who took it off the wall, as you can see. I'm sure she's going to make sure I bring it back because it is one of the historical artifacts that we have over at the law firm. We do have, my dad was the lawyer, and so we have a kind of a companion law firm that we do a lot of work with. And Joan's certainly one of the partners over there. And I'm sure she'll ask for it back in short order. So, but the other aspect about the public service is that I think it also brings kind of a cultural trait within the office, right? That if I can see, we just got one. In fact, Rochelle came on and said hello to us earlier today. She just emailed me the other day. There you go. She went to one of the vaccination stations and volunteered her time a couple days ago and wrote the most wonderful letter saying this is like a game changer. Like it really affected her to be able to see, the difference a vaccine can make in somebody's life. So
I tell you what, I left that vaccination place after my second one. I felt like a superhero. I felt like all of a sudden I had powers I did not have before. It was amazing.
Yep. Right.
Thank you, Rochelle. I appreciate you doing that.
Yep. And so anyways, at the end of the day, it creates all of these other things. And so frankly, from a selfish employer point of view, maybe instead of, making $1 million a year, people value their work here. Like, you know what? They let me do other things. They let other parts of my life blossom. Yeah. And so I'll put up with the ridiculously low pay or
John. Yeah. No, but I think,
but it really helps with retention.
But no, I think you're right. I mean, and I think what's so interesting about it is because, I mean, obviously your company is, I mean, you've been around 50 years, right? I mean, there's probably a lot of old school aspects of the company, right? But at the same time, I think that what's funny, because you talk about cycles, right? What's funny is kids these days, young people, right? The new generation of employees are placing more emphasis than ever, I think, on balance and on living their life and not and working to live, not living to work, and things like that, and doing good in the world, and sustainability and DE&I, and just being good humans. And so I love when I hear companies like you and leaders like yourself who are able to, interweave, your values and create a culture and an environment that multiple generations can thrive in. I think that's amazing. I think that's really awesome. We got some people saying some really neat things here. Cheryl says Morreale truly cares about their employees. It's a great place to learn and grow in life and your career. Drew Phillips goes on to say, service to your fellow human makes all the difference. That is organic growth for sure. Love it.
Yep.
Lindsay here, they truly understand their employees have a home life and give them the opportunity to fulfill their responsibilities and enjoying their free time. That's awesome. Yep. One of the cool things from the interesting things from the pandemic is, before the pandemic, it was about how do we allow or create space for employees to bring their whole selves to work? How can I be authentically me? And if that means I have a different lifestyle, if that means that I have, how do I bring my whole self? So I'm not just bringing like a piece, I'm not just showing you a sliver, I'm not just putting on a professional mask and bringing my whole self. Well, now we're zooming in everybody's home, and I see who you are, and I see your kid, and I see your cat, and I see, and I think it's so interesting because what you're talking about with the service thing, and you talk about going into people's communities with them and seeing and meeting their community, and going into their church and going into their the community outside of work, and all the context that brings with it. In a way, you're doing that same thing too, and creating such greater bonds.
Yep.
With the people you work with.
And I think, it's important for everyone to realize that there is a diversity in the workforce and that we have to embrace it. I mean, that's, if you're also to say one last thing about how do you create this company that uniquely is moving, 50 years and through a series of generations. One of the other things is that we're kind of lucky that if you go out there and say, I need someone who can do a relocation file, there are nobody. There isn't anybody. No one goes to college to learn how to do a relocation file. So you have to bring someone into the industry. So they come in with a blank slate. If you partner that with tolerance, meaning I kind of didn't care how your high school career went, but we're going to embrace you as what you bring to us. And we're going to teach you because no one knows. We have to train you. It also created a great environment where there's a lot of folks who maybe when they were younger weren't really sure what they wanted to do. And so if you were to read their resume, you'd be like, well, why would you hire them? Like, what does it tells you that they're going to be a relocation god, 10 years from now? But if you're a little bit tolerant and you give people a chance and then you just keep throwing knowledge at them, you create this kind of interesting breed of employee who's like, these people got me. They understood me and they challenged me and I responded. And those are the people you want to hang out with. They're cool people to be with, because they're just grateful that someone gave them a chance to be great, not to be
I agree.
Not to punch the clock, but to be great.
Are you hiring for things like curiosity, inquisitiveness? I mean, what are you hiring for? I'm really curious.
I will tell you, this place isn't, and it hasn't been as true lately for some other reasons, but most of the people here and in most of the hiring, to almost everyone's surprise, I do the first interview as the owner. They walk in and boom, the owner's there. Why? Why
do you do that?
Because it's a personality. I just want to know if this is going to be someone I want to hang out with for the rest of my life. I can teach them. I can teach them how to do a real estate transaction if they have any abilities at all. But do I want them to be right outside my office? And do I want to hang with them? Do I want to have a barbecue with them? Do I have pizza day? Do I want to sit next to them? I need a certain personality that I'm going to be comfortable with, just because this is my life. This is my family. And if I'm going to be with them this time, I want to check it out. And, in the modern world, it's much easier. I can go on, poke around on their Facebook, a few things. I can find something we have in common. and whether it's a sporting team or that we're both parents or something, and try to get them comfortable and kind of learn about them. Then the second time, if they pass that test, then then we bring in the real estate team and see if they really know that real estate's 2 words, and how to prepare deeds and that kind of stuff. But the first interview is really a personality trait, and there are some nice things to see on resumes. You want to see that they are making some contribution to their communities, whether it was in high school, volunteering, at the concessions booth for the football game. You want to see them reaching out. I love people who play team sports. If you played sports in college, almost always a good sign for me. So there's really some things, that I like to see, and then I can talk with them, and then I hand them off to the rest of the group to see if the points on the resume are true. Do they really know something? So we do have some personality traits that we hire to. And it's,
nice. Yeah, I played quarterback in Northwestern. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
did you?
No, absolutely not. No, that goes to the part of the team that fact checks the resume, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
John Brady. John was doing that first interview 26 years ago when I started. That's great. Drew Phillips. I love John's realness. Yeah. You know what I love, John? I'll be honest with you, and I do a really terrible job of showing my gratitude, so I'm going to make sure I rectify that situation, right? I love the fact that I got this box in the mail right here. Did you know about this? I don't even know what's in this box.
I knew of it. I can't say I packed the box, Ben.
Yeah, I hope not, because that's a lot of cutting. Because this is great. Hello, enjoy the celebration in a box brought to you by Morreale for your 50th here. I don't know what's in this box. It could be something totally inappropriate. We're just gonna go for it. Okay.
All right. I like it. How about that? I mean, that alone there is a keeper.
Little hairpiece here. Let's see here. We got a card. My mom taught me I always have to read the card first. I don't know how heartfelt this is. Did everybody sign this? I don't even know. Is this the second file you guys did? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it'd be thicker than that.
Cheers to 50 years. Look at that. Look forward to our time together, John. Hey, look at that, John. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Look at this is weird. I don't know if this is awkward for you. Then we got this nice glass here. It's like Christmas, when you open a present from your uncle. You're like, is it socks? What is it? This is great. We got glassware, which is good for the old bar here.
Don't let the glass go far. Don't let it go far.
This is getting a lot better, John. I'll tell you what.
Exactly right.
I started with this crazy hairpiece, and now I got a little Vinda City red here. I got a little split.
We sent that stuff out because we just really feel bad that in May, again, we're not all getting together. So I hope you don't mind me saying, Ben, you're not the only one who is getting packages.
What?
I know.
What?
I just want to be truthful about it.
You told me I was special. Okay, actually, that was not in the card.
Right.
Special.
So
this is a lovely gift pack.
Say hello to all the people again. We're not going to see this May, and kind of remind them that we really are hoping we can see each other in the fall. And it's I wish I was there to have a drink with you. That was kind of how it's going, but maybe you can get think of us as you have a glass of wine with the missus this evening.
No, that's lovely.
And so we did send out some stuff to a lot of our friends and contacts and people we normally see at ERC.
That's awesome. That's fantastic, John. I love that. I mean, so usually, like I said, I see you at a party twice a year. And so this is a beautiful little touch. I love this. Cheers to 50 years. That's gorgeous. That's great. Congratulations to you guys and you and the team. It's incredible. John, you like playing games?
I am a game player, sir.
All right. Well, let's play a game. You got a top 5 today for us, John?
I do give you a top 5. So as I had mentioned to you earlier, really the founder of this company was my dad. I am John C. Morreale. He is John F. Morreale. So when people wanted to distinguish us, they say which John, and he's John F. and I'm John C. And so the top 5 is some of my father's words of wisdom that he's left with us over time. And I thought this would be an entertaining way to kind of bring the show to conclusion, because he's still a major influence in all of our lives, we hear all of these phrases all the time in the back of our head. And so I thought maybe we could enjoy some of them.
I love it. This one goes out to John F. Morreale. That's awesome. Let's do it. No, number 5.
Nothing happens until someone sells something. So that was actually from my grandfather, but my father always repeated it. My grandfather was a peddler. He sold vegetables off a cart.
Oh my
gosh. And he really always said that really you need somebody out there kind of stirring the pot. Nothing really happens until somebody sells something. And that sale creates a lot of opportunities. And so that was something my grandfather always said.
I love this saying. I love people that say this. I've been in organizations where operations kind of takes over, or accounting starts making the rules, or IT starts making the business decisions.
Right.
No offense to anybody that works in any of those areas of the business, but as a sales guy, it always felt like the tail was wagging the dog. And right. I'm like, listen, okay, if we don't go out there and sell something, none of this stuff matters. All right. So let's not lose focus here. I love that. And that's great.
Right.
Number 4.
No one ever built a statue to a committee.
Oh man, that's great.
So again, my father was a very large presence, and he was very open-minded on advice. He was constantly asking people he respected and admired for advice. But what he always understood was sometimes you just have to decide things. That if you're the entrepreneur or you're the owner in the organization, that's why you're there. Some things are tough to decide. And so this was the phrase he used to say, no one ever built a statue to a committee, meaning I have to decide this. This is my role within the organization, is to take these tough decisions. And the beauty with him is he was comfortable whether he was right or wrong. He frankly didn't care. He would just decide it and move on. I've had some experience, and I know we're a little short on time, but I once was an elected official, and I always got wore out by all the committee meetings. We always needed another committee. Like, can't we just decide? We all know what's going to happen. Someone just stand up and decide. And so
I love this. I love this. And it's funny when you put it that way, because you're right. There aren't statues of committees. At the end of the day, someone's got to make the decision. Right. And that's great. Number 3.
This is one of the family favorites. And I believe this may be his most popular phrase, particularly to me when I would get excited that I'd get a new client or that something new was going on. He'd go, well, any fool can be busy, but are we making money? And I think certainly people who have ever started a business or come into a business, it's real easy to be busy sometimes, right? You can create your own commotion. But making money is the difficult part. And
you can create your own commotion. I love it.
Yeah. Not that making money is the end all be all, but you need to be able to reinvest in a business. And you need to be able to, share with your employees. So it's not just a way to keep score to make money. It's a way to keep the profitability and keep that legacy going, is you need to be able to reinvest. So
I think that this could apply to a few metrics, because you're right. I mean, money's not everything, but money happens to be the primary metric for a business, right? Because a business is a for-profit organization of people, right? And so if you're a not-for-profit, right? If you're Adam Lowy out here, Remove from Hunger, how many people did we feed? How much food did we collect? How many, any fool can be busy, but how much food did you collect? But I love this. One of my favorites similar to this is busy is the new stupid.
Right. I like
There's so much commotion. You use the word, you can make your own commotion. I love that. And we do. We get wrapped up in meetings. We get wrapped up in committee stuff. We get wrapped up in a lot of things. Now, at the same time, I'm also a firm believer in long game stuff and laying the groundwork for future success and networking and volunteering, right? Because I believe that that's all investing in the future. And you could argue, well, what's the ROI on 700 volunteer hours, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hard discussion to make. So I think you got to know as the business owner to make that decision. But this is really interesting about being busy. Great advice here, especially in COVID.
Right.
Let's see. Drew Phillips to say busy is no good, productive is the key. Yeah, for sure. Number 2.
Well, we alluded to this a little bit earlier in our discussion. And certainly being in this business where we're basically selling a lot of houses and trying to help those employers get rid of these assets they don't want. Always one of the toughest calls is to call them up and say, hey, we need to reduce the price in this house to get it sold. And then there's some, the typical response is, well, that, according to somebody, my house should be worth X. And
according to Zillow,
John F. I can hear him on the phone right now. A house is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. Yeah.
It's so interesting because right now that's actually kind of almost the opposite. Right. Because now you have people who are willing to plunk down $100K over ask just to get into the place, but now the bank won't finance it for that because you're willing to pay $1 million for that house, you're only putting 3% down. I'm putting the other 97% down. The bank's putting the other, who's the decider, right?
Yep. Well, there's still, I have to say, there's a lot of cash coming to closings right now. So maybe the mortgages aren't, that would be an interesting number. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I think the mortgage, the lending rate is probably not as high as it used to be. There's a lot of people bringing cash to closing right now to keep that mortgage amount down for their houses. They're kind of making up the difference between the appraised value and the value that they had to pay for that house. So
interesting. Let's see here. All right, let's go to number 1.
Well, this. I don't know if this is the way to end, but this is the classic line from my father. Back in the day, spent most of their time on the phone. My dad would be on the phone with somebody, helping them negotiate a repair on a house or giving them some advice on what to do about particular issues. And almost every phone call ended with, thanks for calling. And now you can have the rest of the day off. Now he'd say that at 9 a.m, 10 o'clock in the morning. But really what it was his way of saying, hopefully this stressful issue that made you call me as your attorney, hopefully I was able to talk you through it. And now you can have the rest of your day is less stressful. That's really what he meant. It's like, now you can have the rest of the day off. Like we've removed that worry from your life. And
see, I thought this is what he said to people when they called and they didn't have the right information, and this is his way of saying you're fired.
No, I don't believe my dad ever fired anybody. Frankly, I think they all still work here.
Oh my gosh.
He would just find something else for him to do.
Yeah, that's good.
He was too much of a softie. I think that was one of the tasks that he would assign to someone else.
That's awesome. That's great. John, this has been so much fun. It's been great getting to know you on a personal level, getting to hear more about your dad, getting to hear more about the company. The gifts were beautiful and generous. Thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed getting to know your staff here through the comments. Hit that like button again if you're out there watching. Go ahead and tag somebody that needs to see this as well. If somebody needs to hear about kind of building company cultures and building firms to last 50 years now in the business, that's pretty incredible. John, you have any final thoughts you want to share with us before we adjourn?
No, I guess shortly, 50 years, there's just so many personalities that I wish, that came in and out of our doors. And I just want everyone, if they're watching or if they get a chance to see this later, I know it wasn't a one-man show. It was a team and generations. We have mothers, daughters, sons. We have whole generations that have worked through our company. And I just, super grateful for the role they played at the end of the day. And also, in final, Ben, I want to thank you for doing this kind of stuff, because I think when we all get to, relocation's a small little world. And I think we all benefit from getting to know each other better. And I think this is the kind of thing that does it. I'm not in a suit, not worried who's hearing me. and things like that. I think this is just a really nice thing you're doing, and it really makes a difference within the industry. And hopefully it attracts people to our business. They're like, looks like a nice group of people. Maybe I'll do that.
Looks like fun. Free wine delivered to your home. I'll do it. Sounds good. No, John, I appreciate you saying that. You know, it is a labor of love. The community, you know, you talk about a team, right? Well, you know, my team, you know, Stacy, Tim, but also the community out there that tunes in every day. You know, there's a lot of really wonderful people out there, and without them, we wouldn't have a show, right? If people didn't watch it. So appreciate all of you out there watching it. The show's always better when you get involved. So thanks for getting in the comments. Leave John some love and the team down there. And yeah, thanks everybody out there that was watching. Tomorrow we got Bob Portali on from Relo Direct. So it's going to be a great ending to a great week. John, I thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Ben. It was a privilege.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.